With the Carolina Panthers taking their show on the road, looking for some type of life from their offense as well as their defense, and Andy Dalton on the sideline with a strained thumb, the Panthers are not only riddled with injuries, but their confidence is totally shaken. Looking back to their former first-round pick starting at quarterback, hoping he can find a spark and spark this team. Would he be able to do so? Find out next on Growlin' and Prowlin'. Welcome back, Panther Nation. Thank you all for joining us yet again. As you know, I am Mr. CeeLo. Just wanted to forewarn some of you guys. I'm not in a very good mood. I'm probably going to go off because, there's a lot of people that make statements. Now, I know a lot of you have been upset with the looming drama that is Bryce Young being the quarterback of the Carolina Panthers. But I've got to say, I am really tired of the drag machine that is the Panthers public or the Panthers media, because this has just gotten ridiculous. And the fact is, I want to go ahead and I want to do some of the PFFs from the game, but of course, I want to get your comments out of the way first. We go to Carolina Panthers Keep Pounding group out of Facebook. We've got Dorsey says, no, he cannot. When will you ever get it? Then we go to Jason that said, not this year. Then we got Javon, whom is going to be one of the fans featured this week. As he said, he is at the game. So, Javon, thank you so much for posting, my friend. You will be the Growlin' and Prowlin' fan of the show, representing. Ed says, no, with all the injuries on defense, they can't beat no one. Josh said, I am afraid not. The weather today is rainy and with a chance of, I can't say that. Mark said, absolutely not. This team is not even close to a 500 team. Keith said, no, that train derailed years ago. Keep pounding. Okay, let us go to Panther Nation. On the same show, Cindy said, nope. Brandon said, playing for this team with this roster, no QB looks like they can play in the NFL. It's not a Bryce issue. Only when folks realize they will feel better. Y'all trying to buy $1 million dream with a 10-cent budget. This roster isn't good. I want to comment on that, Brandon. You're almost right. Now, in a sense, there are some good players on this team, but I guess what you're getting at is the injuries. And we've been riddled with injuries. I think ultimately we need to look back to last year. Listen, you got to remember Corbett was hurt majority of the year and got hurt again. Christensen got hurt week 1. He was out. Aquana was in and out. Moton was the only guy that stayed in the offense. Bozeman was partially hurt half the season, well, a third of the season. This line was not healthy last year. And it was amazing Chuba Hubbard did what he did, which brings me to another point. We should have never, ever fired Steve Wilkes. We should have never let Steve Wilkes walk. Now, I definitely want to hear your comments on that. Steve Wilkes should have been the guy here. And that's why I agree with what Brandon said. This is an organizational problem. Because Wilkes should have never been allowed to walk. Period. You could have kept his staff here. We could have kept running the football. Which we still don't do enough of. And guys, listen. Please make sure when you comment, make sure it makes sense. Because Brandon, you did a phenomenal job laying this out. Although the only thing I don't agree with you on is that we have a 10-cent a 10-cent roster. But, given the fact that we've got so many guys in here that are not our number ones, I agree with that aspect of it. But you're right. The thing that most people don't get is we walked into this season knowing we weren't going to have a true number one edge rusher. And that's on Dan Morgan. Because the reality of it is, like everything else in the draft, it goes in bunches. Quarterbacks, even cornerbacks. Cornerbacks, defensive ends, they all went in bunches. And it goes back to the horrible job. Now, I know people are going to say you can't relive the past. I get it. But a GM like Scott Fitterer should have been gone the same time Matt Rule was gone. Simple as that. And the reality of it is, I think ultimately you need a gentleman that's working with the head coach as well as the GM to keep these guys here. Because Frankie Louisville should have never walked out the door. Edo Gross Models never should have walked out the door. And Jeremy Chin sure shouldn't have walked out the door. Now, I do say, and you've heard me say this on many occasions, Panther Nation, if Ichiro Avero was going to be let go because of any one specific move, it should have been the negligence to use Jeremy Chin.
You fucking idiot.
Because he and Frankie Louvu are tearing it up in the Commanders. Dan Quinn knows what he's doing with them. But I think he did a much better job this week. I think the issue you're running into is Bo Nix had no pressure. I'm just going to call it what it is. We can sit here and we can look at the statistics and say, well, the Panthers did get 2 sacks. They were coverage sacks. Ashawn Robinson was able to get 2 sacks because of the coverage. It's because of the coverage. Bo Nix was holding the football, and he was trying to get out of there several times, which in a couple of instances he did. But to sit here and say that that we got a pass rush, no. J.C. Horn, Shaw Smith Wade, Xavier Woods, Mike Jackson had one heck of a football game. I gotta throw him out there. He, like I said, once again, he is just showing. I don't know why this kid was even. I don't even know why this guy was not on an active roster. I love this guy. Caleb Farley got some reps in. Damani Richardson had 11 tackles. But let's not get into the game. We're still doing comments and whatnot. I just had to throw those in there. I'm sorry I jumped ahead of myself. But looking at real Carolina Panther fans, Deborah says, oh, hell no. Larry says implosion. Then let's look at Carolina Panthers Unleashed for Life. Said, heck no. And then Adam said, can the Panthers provide enough healthy players to field a team? Very true. That's a very good comment, Adam. I mean, we've been just absolutely ravaged. And then I think DJ Johnson went out. And, yeah, it just continues. I mean, you can't... You keep going out every week, and it just seems like you lose another player when you get a couple of guys back. DJ Wanham, we don't know when he's going to come back. So when we keep losing, and then we only slowly gain, that has a lot to do with it. Let's get into the game. It was Denver 28, Panthers 14. Now, a lot of people are saying, and I agree, this game was like... Ugh. And I'm going to go ahead, and I don't usually do this because I don't like, but there are too many guys out there that are putting their mouth on Bryce. And I want to go ahead and I usually don't do this until later on, but I got to do it now because I'm just frustrated. And I'm tired of hearing people just talk that noise about Bryce. And let's go here. Jalen Coker had an 84.4. Miles Sanders, I don't know how he did this, had a 72.5. Taylor Moton, offensive line, I want you guys to listen. He had a 69, a low 69. David Moore and Xavier Legette both had 66s. Now, keep in mind, your wide receivers can't have these type of grades unless Bryce is getting them the football. And now we got the worst of the offense. Now I want you to pay close attention. You had Cade Mays at 47, Brady Christensen at 45, Jatavian Sanders 49, and Ian Thomas 35. Now, I'd like to know where Ike Ekwonu, Damian Lewis, and Robert Hunt placed on this list. Because they couldn't have placed any better than what Brady Christensen and Cade Mays were. Ain't no way. I can tell you that right now. There ain't no way they fared any better. Because the fact is, what I don't like, and I was listening to this show, Panthers Playbook, I'm not a fan because these are the same clowns that after the Bills preseason, one drive, I'm drinking the Kool-Aid.
What a dumbass.
I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. Now 2 games in, and now one more game with Bryce under your belt, you done stopped drinking the Kool-Aid?
Bruh. Dumb shit. Dumb shit.
And these are the same guys that said if they could keep guys on the offensive side of the ball, they would keep
pieces on offense. Most of the pieces on offense. I'm cool with keeping. Mm-hmm. Again, if we end up keeping Miles Sanders and he's more of a slot receiver and you can use him out the backfield sometimes, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, they're going to save money. They need to save the money. He's gone.
Yeah. I agree with you, but I'm saying if they were to end up keeping him and figure out ways to save money in other ways, okay.
You want to find other ways to save money on a guy who's not even the third best back on the team? These are the same guys that sat here. Well, this guy was the same one that said, I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. These are the kind of analysts that are saying Bryce Young is a backup.
It's official. You suck.
Now, we're going to get into statistics, and I know some of you guys are probably going to disagree with me, but follow me. If you go back and watch my shows, there is always a method to my madness. I don't see Bryce Young as the only problem here. Listen to what I told you guys. The best PFF grades came from three of the 5 grades we got this week came from wide receivers. How is that possible unless Bryce was doing something right? Y'all follow me? Because here's the reality. They can't be successful and get these kind of grades without Bryce getting them the football. I mean, that's just the honest truth. And I'm going to say it like this. Jalen Coker was not on the active roster very long. You got to think about Jalen Coker was playing with Bryce Young on the practice squad. So that back shoulder fade, and this is the thing I don't understand about none of y'all. None of y'all even brought that up. That was a beautiful back shoulder fade he threw to him. And that's the other thing. How many times are these guys getting open? I think I did a graphic on this a couple of months ago. Only the 49ers had the smallest window of separation. The smallest window of separation. Our guys are not getting open. It's not like you watch a lot of games and these guys get on. This is the problem I have with so many of y'all. You're not watching the totality of the game. If there's an incompletion or Bryce is holding on to the ball, why? I admit there were games last year and there's a few times this year they was holding on to the ball and there were guys that had broke open or he waited late. That's not happening this year. That was just like the interception to Tommy Tremble. Tommy Tremble took ownership of that. He said, I went the wrong way. I went the wrong way. And see, what happens is when you anticipate, this is the thing many of you have to understand. When you're asking a kid that's already trying to make sure he doesn't overthink things, he does overthink things. He's not playing freely. And this is not the style of offense he's used to playing in. And this is what I don't understand about Canellis. Now, Sanders had a 72.5, but Moulton was the only offensive lineman that was in there, you guys. But I'm sorry, I'm bringing 2 things together. One, Dave Canellis, and one, the offensive players. But then here's the bottom 5. The bottom 5 happened to be Brady Christensen and Cade Mays, who also was responsible for Bryce getting hit on the release, smack in the chest. And I'm going to tell you, a lot of the issue that I'm seeing is Dave Canellis. And it goes back to, One of the guys on Panthers playbook said he was trying to be too cute and so on and so forth in the fourth down play. I actually like the fourth down play, being aggressive. And that's the thing. People are sitting there looking at this 28-14 game and they're saying, well, this is that. Well, here's the thing. The Panthers gave up the football deep in Denver territory trying to stay alive. I respect Canellis for that. I didn't like the play call. I think one thing you try to do is you either try to jump them off sides, and then as soon as they come back out, then you try some kind of a fake. Now, I know a lot of people are going to say, no, you try to fake when they're about to go. You try to fake when the clock is running. You don't have time to settle for it. That's partially true. But sometimes when you go for the fake, they're already looking at you thinking, oh, they ain't fixing to go for it. You supposed to be a guru. And this is how I'm going to bring this home. Dave Canellis ain't showed me anything. Even when Dalton had his first two games. See, everybody's talking about Dalton gives us the best chance. Dalton gives us the best chance. We did not have Thielen. We didn't have Deontay Johnson. And still Bryce was able to throw for 224. And let me tell you something. A lot of those windows were not wide open, despite what the guys on the fan or Julian on Locked On Panthers wants to say. These windows were not guaranteed. These windows were still like this. And he was still fitting the ball in some areas. So I don't want to hear this whole, oh, they were backing off. These were not easy throws he was executing. These throws were contested because Denver likes to play a lot of man. They blitz and play man. And there were a lot of throws that he was feeding in the tight areas. The touchdown Coker had, he was draped all over him. So you're going to tell me that's, even the announcers had to say, that's a great throw by Bryce. But see, here's this thing. When you get the local press that's talking trash about their own guy, what do you think the national media is going to do? And then Julian on Locked On Panthers said something and it's true. This falls back on Canellis because it's like, oh, anybody that's watching this game and knows football, he's calling the game totally different with Dalton than he is with Bryce. Too many inside the umbrella throws. I did not see one crosser yesterday. Not one. Here's the question, Canellis. If Bryce Young is so cerebral, why is it you're not giving him at least 2 plays at the line of scrimmage that he can change to? Why not? You're not telling me this guy is not seeing this, and I see him making checks at the line, but the problem is I'm not seeing efficient checks. This goes on you. We're not seeing crossers. Not enough misdirection. We just go to the line of scrimmage and it's like, nah, let's move this guy here. Nah, let's move him close to the line. We hardly ever send one of our guys, Coker with that blazing speed, send him down to formation. See what kind of a shift you're going to get that'll open things up. This was National Tight End Day. Everybody fed their tight ends, except us. Except us. Where you at, Canellis? All this talk, we're going to run the ball. We're going to feature our tight ends because we got some good ones. At some point, your game planning skills has got to come into effect. If we're going to call out Ichiro Avero, we need to call out your game planning, your play calling. Because here's the reality. Whether people want to admit it or not, these same clowns on the Panthers playbook said we need to be done with Mingo. I guess we need to be done with Tommy Tremble. I mean, I'm just calling it out because it seems like every time somebody goes non-existent, we just need to be done with them. There's a lot of guys that we have not utilized properly. And to sit there and say that you are okay with keeping Miles Sanders, to say that you're okay to keep Miles Sanders, stupid.
Dumb shit.
I'm just saying. At the end of the day, I'm all about utilizing every piece. And I saw some things that I really liked in man coverage. Back shoulder throws. But you're going to have to put Coker in motion. He is too talented of a guy. Mingo, put him in motion. I'm not fixing to sit here and write him off. But you have got to get out of this umbrella play calling. Where I'm just going to throw 7 and 9 yard curls. Or I'm going to throw quick slants with... run the double slants. A slant here and a slant behind it. Especially if you see the DBs playing off. If they're playing press, the best thing you can run is a dang slant. I have yet to see the 2 tight end set where you either have Trumbull on one side, Sanders on the other. Now, I know Sanders not a great blocker, but you still have one Ian Thomas on the sideline. He's a great blocker. Put him in there. Put Thomas in there. Thomas can still catch the ball some. But you have to make a concerted effort to fool people. You're not even doing that. And the reality of it is, I'm tired of having this discussion where people are just jumping on Bryce and then not looking at the totality of everything. This is a guy that has carried this team with more grace than anybody could have. None of you and even myself would not be able to take the verbal bashing and the mental assassination that is going on. It's not right. We saw 2 games and we've already indicted him as being a bust. And Andy Dalton, let me tell you all something. Dalton didn't throw for 220 yards and a loss. Not like this one. He threw for 93. Do I need to remind y'all? Because here's the thing. Everybody keeps saying, oh, it needs to be Dalton. Oh, it needs to be Dalton. Look, let me tell you all something. We don't need to get our butts kicked. And once we get our butts just absolutely handed to us, we look back and the quarterback is 11 of 16 for 93 yards. Can't happen. Somebody will say, well, if he threw 32 passes? Well, he threw 2 interceptions on 16 passes. I guess all of y'all forget that one. Oh, they the Commanders. Is that what we're saying? They're just the Commanders? Now, I know I've went on a rant, you guys. This ain't just to let y'all know. I think we need to really hit a reset on this. Look at the game again. I know a lot of you are going to say, I don't want to watch it again. It was this, that, and the other. But I watched the game. I saw Bryce step into some throws and get hit. The truth of the matter is, this is on Canellis. Our guys are not getting separation. Now, I'm not saying it's all them not getting separation. Sometimes Bryce needs to pull the trigger. What I was proud of is that he actually pulled the trigger on that throw he made to Coker because Coker was covered. And I can tell you what that is. That came from continuity. And then to listen to Dooflunky on the fans say that DJ Shark was not a good wide receiver is nothing short of trash. That shows me what his idea of talent is. Because right there at the end of the season when everybody was double teaming the Adam Thielen, Shark was the only thing that could get open. We can sit there and say what we want. Shark made some really good plays. Matter of fact, 5 of the top 10 Panther plays, highlight plays from last year were from DJ Shark. So while Dooflunky is sitting here saying DJ Shark was not this, that, and the other, as much as I think Leggett is a big-time player, he still hasn't had as many highlights as DJ Shark did last year. And you could see that Bryce had more confidence in Shark than Leggett. Because there was a throw last year, and it's because Leggett's 3 inches shorter. But Shark's a big target. And Bryce had confidence throwing it up to go to him. Maybe that's what he needs to develop with Leggett. But I've always said, and I'm going to throw this out there, you guys, and then we'll dabble into the defensive side. I think Carolina needs to go after T. Higgins.
What?
I want you guys to really think about that. I know a lot of you are going to say, we can't afford that. Let's just get us another quarterback. Well, I think ultimately we need to part ways with Deontay Johnson and Adam Thielen. As much as I hate saying that, Deontay Johnson's been a breath of fresh air. I think we resurrected his career by getting him out of Pittsburgh. I think Adam Thielen still got another great run in him with another team as a slot receiver. But we need to get value for him. I think we could possibly get a third or a second for Deontay Johnson, possibly a fourth or a fifth for Adam Thielen. Get that as trade value and possibly use it to go after T. Higgins. Now, a lot of people are going to say, why go after T. Higgins? Here's the reality. If we can land T. Higgins, we can resurrect Bryce Young. Want to know how? We don't have anybody that scares. We don't have a single receiver on this roster that scares anybody. Jalen Coker might raise some eyebrows, but could you imagine pairing him with T. Higgins? What do we have in this year's draft that's like T. Higgins? I'll give you a hint. Nothing. The only other guy in the NFL that is like T. Higgins, he plays for the Steelers, and the Steelers are not going to let him walk cheap if they let him walk. The Bengals are at a crossroads. This, more than ever, if you want to fix Bryce Young, get him T. Higgins. I saw when he made that back shoulder throw to Coker, and when he ran that first drive, the offensive line was our problem yesterday, and Canellis' play calling is stifling Bryce. It's stifling him right now. And what happens when you sometimes in the NFL, you just have to let your guy go get it. Bryce doesn't have that built in him yet, but he does with Coker because the game was out of reach. He didn't have nothing to lose. Why do you think the other interception was over his way? Makes sense, don't it? Just something for you guys to feast on, because the guys, we got to come to a realization that this football team is riddled with injuries, and it's also at a crossroads as far as the season goes. Are we officially going to throw this in, or are we going to really try to give it a shot at trying to make it work? And also, the interception that was picked off at the corner of the end zone, that was just one heck of a play. He was beat. And I admit, Bryce had him underthrown. I admit it, but also look at that play. He got hit in the chest on that play. He stepped up in the pocket, and what Morgan and Canellis wanted to do, allow him to step up in the pocket, and he couldn't do that. He got hit right smack in the chops. Let us not forget that either. And that big throw that he made down to Leggett, he got smacked on. The big throw he made down the field that Leggett didn't get to, he got smacked. The throw that he completed to Coker, the deep one, he got smacked. So while we sitting there saying it's not him, it's him, and him. Some of it's just that the defenses understand they can play Bryce a certain way and they can't play Dalton a certain way. Some of that's on Canellis. Canellis has got to say to myself, look, if we're going to lose this game, I'm going to lose by throwing the playbook at him. Let him see the playbook in its totality. In its totality. Now, moving over to the defensive side of the ball, I know I spent a lot of time over there. I want you guys to comment on that. Because I watched the game. I watched it from several different ways and angles, and I'm not seeing the same offense that I see with Dalton. Call it what you want. Canellis needs to let Bryce fail if he can't pick up the offense. You say this kid is cerebral and he picks up everything, show us. Defensively, like I said, you don't want to say the defense was horrible, and I don't want to say it was horrible because there were some good moments. Damani Richardson and Mike Jackson were just great. Josie Jewell in his return, great to see him out there putting his thing down. Jadeveon Clowney actually had a big game, 7 tackles. Shy Tuttle had 7 tackles. J.C. Horn was relatively quiet, at least on the tackling front. He had some good coverages, but he and Sean Payton got into it because he was complaining that, he was stating that they were still throwing the ball in the fourth quarter, which, in the way I looked at it, yeah, you had us shut out very much, but let's keep it in perspective, JC. It was 28-7, and yeah, we looked like we were helpless, but listen, it's our job to stop them. I get it. I know what it sounds like, That's just one of those moments you just got to take and you got to go and get the forced fumble like you guys did at the goal line. And that's what you have to do. You have to go. It's your job to stop them. Go do what you do. You know, I'm not going to be one of those ones that's going to say it's not right. But listen, look who you're dealing with. Sean Payton. This is the same crybaby that cried when he was at New Orleans. He's always a crybaby when it's something done to him. Watch, somebody will run the score up on, they'll be throwing the ball in the fourth quarter. He'll be doing the same thing, won't he? You already know what you're dealing with, JC. Just brush it aside. You know who you're dealing with. Do you. I need your leadership. We need your leadership. Because two of our top leaders are not there. You got to be a leader. Shrug that off. You're having a good season. Listen, we want you here. Don't get caught up in that. Don't get caught up in whining with a bigger wine box. You bigger than that. Sean Payton's a wine box. Leave it at that. You just let him know how you feel and be done with it. And make sure you keep receipts. So when he starts complaining, you kindly remind him. I'm proud of the defense like I am the offense. The thing is, we're riddled with injuries. I think everybody needs to understand this is not our starting offensive line. This is not our starting defensive line. This is not even our starting linebacking core. And I will say, with a good move by one Dan Morgan, we found Mike Jackson. Not thrilled with the Troy Hill release, but, you know, whatever. I still thought we should have hung on to Troy Hill. That's always going to be my mark. I think what they're doing is they're trying to shade in Shao Smith-Wade along with Dane Jackson. So, yeah, all in all, a lot of people are saying, that's just like he said, Peyton said it in, they're not a good offense. Well, you ain't a good offense. I'm just saying, you ain't a good offense. You want to sit there and sound like, oh, they're not a good offense. Well, you ain't neither. Don't know why you had to sit there and say, you know, if it would have been you, well, we got injuries. I like how you can sit there and you can talk your talk to other people, but then it's never you lost the game. I mean, it's never you were beaten. It's you lost the game. That's why I've never been a fan of Sean Payton. Your problem is you still ain't learned how to shut your mouth. Just saying. You don't know how to put your trap in check. And then you want to be the first one to cry when somebody says something out of line to you or out of line outside on the field or whatever. You are the biggest crybaby. And I don't have a problem with you talking that we're not that good, but then let somebody say the same thing to you. You want to get mad. But I'll not have a part of that. I'm going to stay around and basically look and basically in a nutshell, look, we got Jamie Robinson, Dane Jackson, now DJ Johnson's questionable. And hopefully we're going to get some of these guys back. I'm still waiting. DJ Wanham is still out. And yeah, we just got to keep hanging on. Mari Barno is still out. And he's off of IR. That's a good thing. We know Jaden Crumdy is on IR. Derek Brown's on IR. Raekwon Williams is on IR. I mean, we just got so much red on this roster, you guys. And it's just... I think we got more red. And that's the thing nobody talks about. We got so much red on this roster. And, yeah. But, guys... Listen, keep your heads up. Listen, we need to rally around Bryce. Let's stop this whole, we can look Quinn Ewers or Shedeur Sanders. Listen, I give you two flaws with both those guys right now. Quinn Ewers does not have pocket presence. Go watch the Georgia game. He doesn't step up in the pocket. Shedeur Sanders hasn't played an elite defense all year. He played a piece of a defense, and they got two losses. That's right. 2 losses. So I'm going to tell you something. It's different when you're the best athlete on the field. When you get to the National Football League, it's a whole nother ball game. Believe that. And when you're throwing passes to guys that are getting wide open, I've only seen Shedeur make accurate throws a handful of times when the window was that big, kind of like the windows we're asking Bryce to throw into. Not questioning Shadour's ability, but I question the competition that he's played. So before you go running around with your quarterback wish list, you better check the quality of competition first. Because I have. Think about what I said when it came to offensive line, T. Higgins, and the separation factor and the play calling of Dave Canellis, guys, before you start really going in on Bryce Young. Because I've watched all of it. And it's not fair what we're doing to Bryce right now. Because Andy Dalton hadn't been much better. You can be in denial if you want to. He hadn't been that much better. The Washington game proved it. 93 yards, 2 interceptions, and a pick 6. That was his last outing. Was not very good. But 28-14, as Bryce threw for 222. Chuba didn't have the type of game that he had been having. 56 yards on the ground. Bryce 224, 2-2. Bo Nix had 3 touchdowns, and the running game was okay for them. They only had 100 yards, but Sutton had 8 catches for 100 yards. But like as I said before, I'm not a fan of Sean Payton. Never will be, because of his mouth. His mouth is a problem, and I don't care if they don't make the playoffs. And that's not disrespecting any of the players. I just don't like your coach. But like I said, guys, hit me down in the comments. Also, if you join the show, please put your name down there. Thank you to all those that responded to my show, and the ones that liked the show, the ones that didn't like the show. Give your comments on these things, because this is what this is about, is talking. Also, go to the Facebook page, Growling and Prowling. Join the group. Get down in there. Start some conversations. Add some posts. Go to my Instagram at Mr. CeeLo. Find out the other things that I'm involved in and the things that I get into. But until the next time, keep prowling the airwaves and keep growling out. Keep pounding.